What's up, guys? As promised, per the poll on Twitter, you guys asked for it, you guys get it. Brock Purdy, first time I'm grading him, week 17. Full disclosure, I do these intros after I watched. It's not the most exciting game. It's a lot of Kyle Shanahan being brilliant, and it's a little bit of Brock Purdy refusing to completely fuck up. Because we have so little film on Brock Purdy, and I've only got this one game graded so far, this is going to be a traits-heavy analysis. You're going to hear a lot of more subjective discussion about what exactly he is able to do and what exactly he does. So we're talking about things like his arm talent, his mobility, his mental game, things that are more abstract, right? Rather than just saying this particular throw was a routine throw. It's going to be more along the lines of this throw was routine and it displays these traits to me. So without further ado, no further explanation needed, further, let's get to the film. The 49ers run a really heavily schemed offense, so we're not going to see a ton from Brock Purdy ever. But here on his first throw of the game, he does a really good job. This is Max Crosby. For my money, DPOY. Defensive Player of the Year, best defenseman in football right now. Nick Bosa is making a run, but it's Max Crosby. Now, you've got two very obvious checkdowns in McCaffrey and Kittle, and boy, is that an embarrassment of riches. Obviously, righty quarterback, roll right, it's only natural. Throw that ball to Kittle. Kittle tries to block. That's very dumb of Kittle, but Purdy finds him anyway, checks it down. Kittle made it harder on Purdy than it needed to be. Look at this. Look at this little swim-through move. He beat McGlinchey so clean, McGlinchey didn't even recognize that he had been beaten. But yeah, Kittle turning upfield makes it a little tougher of a throw than it needed to be, but it's still an underneath leverage curl. It's not so hard. It's 5 yards. Here, this is another routine throw. It looks pretty because it's an RPO. And it's dropped, so it doesn't actually even go in the stat book. But this is accurate, and it's on target. Got to catch that ball. Obviously, it's not difficult. There's nobody near him. It's right up the middle of the field. But it's a routine throw. Here, more of a pure drop back. You can see Purdy has no interest in throwing anything difficult, right? You should have the ball checked down out here. I'm not going to show the all-22 because it feels like a waste of time. We could literally, I have a hypothesis. We could go through the all-22 on every single play, make this video an hour long, and we're going to find that Brock Purdy is extremely under-aggressive every snap. But I'm going to show you something right here. We know what this defense is, even from the broadcast angle, right? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rushers. Now we got 3 players playing the middle of the field. That means we've got 3 defensive backs left, and they're probably deep. I'm going to guess that if Brock Purdy had some nuts, he could split these 2 zones on this seam and drive a ball right here. 10 yards downfield with room to run, and he could get that. Obviously, Brock Purdy doesn't do that. He checks the ball down to his running back. Now, I know this because I know how defenses work. I know that this is going to be a cover 3 simply because of the way everybody's aligned. I know that there have to be 3 halo safeties or defensive backs at the least, which means that there's a gap between this curl defender and the halo defender. And Brock Purdy's not going to do that. He's going to check the ball down to his favorite read, the easiest throw. And because it's Christian McCaffrey who's electric, it's going to be fairly effective. But Brock Purdy is not the one making this engine go, and frankly, he's not even optimizing the car. But this is why Kyle Shanahan can produce with Nick fucking Mullins. Here, again, it looks really pretty because it's a touchdown and it's like 10 yards downfield. There's nobody covering him. That's why RPOs are so misleading. I hope they give us a slightly better end zone copy replay. It's not worth going to the all-22 for this one, but just look. That's extremely easy. Here you go. There's nobody to block that. There's nobody in the throwing lane. Routine throw. Drive one's a success, but it's not Brock Purdy's fault. He's just simply not terrible. In fact, right now he is epitomizing the Dak line. He is doing all of the super easy things right and nothing more. All right, again, I want you to see how this play plays out. It's exactly the same play from earlier. You're going to have Ayuk and Debo run deep, and then you're going to sneak your fullback out, you're going to sneak your running back out, and you're going to sneak your tight end out. And all three of the underneath options that are realistic are extremely fucking easy. And there's another routine throw from Brock Purdy. Almost no processing involved, almost no arm talent leveraged, almost nothing to it. And I promise you that having been a ninth grade freshman quarterback, I could make that throw. Here, I can't grade this throw. It's so clearly a DPI. Now, maybe Kittle tripped. I don't really care. We're not here to officiate the game. The point is, I can't grade this play because I simply don't know if the ball would have been on target or in time if Kittle had not fallen to the ground, whoever's fault that may have been. Same thing here. As it stands, kind of looks pickable until you realize that Ayuk is on the ground, and there's probably a reason that Purdy was throwing the ball to the in-cut. It's just not a gradable play, unfortunately. There's a penalty on the ball. That's, yeah. If Ayuk stays on his feet, for all we know, that's a touchdown. Who knows? I can't tell. We try to grade every play, like even ones that get called back for penalties, but sometimes you can't. Here, again, just look at this. It's a variation of the same fucking play again. Sneak the tight end out, run a curl over the top of him, little slant, little block, sneak a back out. It's effectively a screen. There's no processing. Look at Purdy's head. Look at Purdy's head after the snap. Let's see how much movement. He's looking right here, and now he looks right here. He literally makes one fake read early in the snap just to get this open, and then throws the ball effectively on a screen to his running back. And Christian McCaffrey's dope, so he makes a lot happen after the catch. And Kyle Shanahan creates a lot of space with the way that his routes work together in combination against zones. Here, another fucking routine first read curl. Look at his head. He's not doing anything. He's staring at his guy, waiting for him to come into the scene, throwing a 4-yard curl. No arm talent, no processing necessary. This is a quarterback-proofed offense. Now, if it sounds like I have a bias, like I already knew what I was looking for, it's because I literally graded this game for the first time directly before making this video. So I'm seeing all of this for the second time in 30 minutes. It's fresh, you know? Here, this is a nice plus movement. And here, this is one of his best throws of the day. It's necessary. Max Crosby, my defensive player of the year, once again, breaking open the play. He resets, sets the pocket again. I love when a quarterback scrambles. So resetting the pocket is this. A lot of quarterbacks here, they just keep running. They keep on running, and they try to throw on the run. Instead, Purdy stops and resets his feet. Just shifts the pocket to the left. I love it. Good throw, downfield, 15 yards, touchdown. It wasn't good coverage, but it was murky downfield. There are some quarterbacks who wouldn't throw that. Like Tua wouldn't throw that because there's just too many bodies over there and it's uncomfortable. Good ball. Now, Kittle's wide open. Absolutely cooks 59. Just put 59 in a body bag. But he's still got to make the throw. So, good for Brock Purdy. That's his first positive throw. And I don't think he's missed yet today. 49ers are backed up, so they're just going to try to run the ball out so they can punt better effectively. 3rd and 5. Crosby almost blows some shit up right here. Right here, that's almost a sack. If he just if he straightens the arms and locks the elbows, he's going to push the right tackle directly into the quarterback, and he's gonna go down. Instead, Purdy does a good job, 2+ pocket movements to roll out and make a good throwaway to avoid the safety, live to punt. Nothing to speak of on that drive, but hey, he didn't fuck up. All right, 49ers opening the second half, and that's a bad throw. That's just a miss. Here, it's not a miss, but this throw right here tells us a lot about Brock Purdy. Plus movement. He's getting pressured, and he gets the ball out quickly. However, this ball has to travel 10 fucking yards. It literally doesn't even make it to the line of scrimmage. And he does not have the arm talent to get it there. If he puts a little zip on that, McCaffrey has a shot in hell at maybe escaping that first tackle. But as it stands, he has to stop and wait. So that's a routine throw, but the trait is very telling. He's got poor arm strength, and he needs to put his body into his throws. That's not great. You can make up for not having great arm strength by being really accurate or really smart, but we just haven't seen that yet from him. And it might come, but it's not there on another one-read play throwing it to his running back. If a quarterback is consistently throwing to his running back or his fullback early in downs without pressure, it's usually a pretty decent indicator without getting deeper into the film that he's just not processing things very much. Here, it's very similar to what we saw on that last play of last drive. He gets a tiny bit of pressure, and he fucking puts everything into it, and it goes 5 yards, and it's low, because he's overthrowing. He has a weak arm, and that's probably why he was a 7th-round pick. Again, I think it's his second read on that play, but just checking it down to his running back, not letting anything develop downfield, not taking any risks. Likely in some legitimate part because Kyle Shanahan doesn't trust him to take any risks, and he knows he doesn't need to. All right, here, this throw is a little tough. I'm going to call it routine, but I understand why people are going to be upset with that. It is like a 15-yard throw. It's just that it's a curl, and it's wide fucking open. I wish they'd show me the replay so I could show you how wide the fuck open this is. But it's so wide open. All right, I'll tell you what. I'll get the all-22 out after this drive ends, and I'll show you it. I mean, look at how much they're doing without even leveraging the quarterback's arm at all. They're getting the ball in the hands of wide receivers. They're checking the ball down to running backs. They're just making sure that the quarterback isn't affecting their team. He's made a couple of positive throws, but for the most part, Brock Purdy has been a passenger in this game. Brock Purdy's performance, despite the fact that they're like going toe-to-toe, this is a tough throw to grade. Again, it's an RPO, so it looks way doper than it actually is. When I show you the all-22 of it, you'll realize it's actually pretty easy. I'm going to call it routine, but it's not a particularly well-placed ball. That's also routine with a plus movement. It's not... It was high, but it's not bad. So as I was saying, despite the fact that they're going toe-to-toe and they probably have pretty similar advanced stats, I guess, Jarrett Stidham is carrying this team by playing well, whereas Brock Purdy's just existing. And sure enough, as I say that, he makes a good throw. Now, it's 20 yards downfield, but it's wide open. It's solid. Oh, perfect. They are going to show the replay. I was just about to say, I don't want to have to go to the all-22, but I think it's necessary here. Here, it's not. Look how wide open he is. Good job for finding him. Good job for having the arm strength to get it there. Good job. But it's not wildly impressive. Here, a little play action boot. Love it. Reset the feet. Love it. Going deep. Don't love it. That's just really poor. The way this play is designed, literally right here, Brock Purdy knows in his head, I am throwing to George Kittle. He hasn't even gotten his head around from the play fake. He knows he's going to George Kittle. It's designed for it. And the problem is it worked. It was open. All you got to do is put the ball here so that he doesn't have to stop. see it one more time. Watch how it hangs up in the air, and Kittle has to run backwards. He has to run away from the end zone. That's on Purdy. That's pickable. That's an interception that the quarterback earned. It could have been a touchdown, and instead, because this guy doesn't have the arm strength to hack it, it went the other way. This is well diagrammed. I didn't even have to diagram it for you. Yeah, you'll see. Look, right here, Kittle's wide open. If you've got Josh Allen arm strength, you actually throw this on a frozen rope between, literally the midpoint between Kittle and the ref. Like right here, where my mouse is. You fucking laser that in there. Now, if you've got good arm strength, but not great, you still just lob it upfield and let him use his over-the-top leverage to go win that ball. But Purdy has bad arm strength. He's a problem. See, look. If Kittle had been able to keep his momentum because the throw was on target, he would have run towards my mouse. That would have been his end point. Instead, he breaks it off and curls around because it just doesn't have the arm to get there. He wasn't on the run. He wasn't pressured. He's just not talented. So this is an example of how sometimes all 22 is not that helpful. I wanted to show you guys this RPO, but you can't really see it. So it just doesn't really help. Sorry. So after the pick, the 49ers are down 3, fourth quarter, and they come out running. Now, if it was any other team, I would say the fact that they came out running tells you a lot about how they feel about Brock Purdy, but it is the 49ers, and throwing or running is kind of just what they do. Here, I grade this throw pedestrian, if not bad. It's tough. I lean bad because he had such incredible over-the-top leverage, but again, this is just a case of not having enough arm strength. This ball's 20 yards downfield past the line of scrimmage, and yeah, the receiver definitely got his hands on it, and that's why I lean towards pedestrian. But I want you to look at how open he is. Look at that. That's like a full yard, 2 yards of separation. You have to use that, put the ball on the sideline, up the field. Instead of the ball landing at about the, let's call this the 5, it needs to land at the 8. Or, god damn it. Instead of the ball landing at the 5, it needs to land at the 3. Instead of the ball being 3 yards inbounds, it needs to be on the paint. So that you can keep the ball away from this safety, Duron Harmon, but above the cornerback, right? It needs to go further. It's really hard to make that catch. I know Juwan Jennings got his hands on it. It's really hard to make a catch while you're spinning and being hit in the stomach. Especially if you don't need to be spinning. Alshon Jeffrey makes that catch, but it's an amazing catch. And that's why Alshon Jeffrey was a really good player for a while. We'll call it pedestrian, but I really didn't like it. Here, that's just bad. So that's the drive. I mean, this should have been a touchdown twice, right? This throw, this was wide open. And Kittle looked over the wrong shoulder, for sure. Kittle looked over the wrong shoulder for sure. But if you're going to put this ball that far outside, it's got to be a little bit shorter. And you got to give him more time. It's just bad. It's just a bad throw. That's a routine throw. I don't think I have to explain. Really amazing play design again by Kyle Shanahan, that fucking genius, but that's not the quarterback's. The quarterback does not deserve credit for that, right? Unless, of course, Brock Purdy's the one drawing up and calling these plays. Here, another RPO that looks dope. It looks like a tight window, but it's not. So at first glance, because we're on the broadcast view, it looks like there's 2 dudes in the area. But if you just put yourself in the perspective of the quarterback and the wide receiver, look at this line that I'm drawing with my mouse. There's nobody in the way, right? This linebacker is a few yards away, probably like 2-3 yards away. Plenty of cushion. This safety is so far over the top, he can't make any play on the ball. He just simply does not have a chance in hell. That is why RPOs on the broadcast view look dope. On the L22, they don't look so cool. I'll figure out a point in the video, I may have already put it in, where I will definitely go and grab you an RPO on the L22 so that you can see from the tight copy. It's just not that impressive. Here, really clever play action fake, and that's a routine throw. That's accurate. It's short. It's open, but it's accurate. Just a drop. This is a bad throw that maybe should have been pickable. All right, that one's going on the L22 as well. I lean towards, so no L22, I would grade it as bad, but luckily we have the L22. We'll go find out. All right, let's see if this was a pickable ball or just bad. Remember, we're watching number 59 because he's the one who eventually makes the play. Oh, that's just a bad ball. 33 actually screamed in there and made that play if you look closely. See, 33 is the one who jumped in there and made a really good play to break this up. Now, if it's a little earlier or thrown with a little bit more velocity, it doesn't get broken up. But it does. That's why, even though it's a good play by the defensive back, Brock Purdy's got to be a little bit more careful. He had the power to make this a better, easier ball to catch, and he didn't. It's a bad throw, but it's not pickable. Tie game, 4-minute drill. Brock Purdy, I think I know what his favorite move is going to be when trying to escape the pocket. He really loves this run left spin move guy, the patented Russell Wilson. He bails on it and he gets the ball away. It's 2+ movements and a throwaway. That's a really good throwaway. The pressure was immediate. He didn't have a chance to set up and actually go through his reads. This is a good ball. Now I know what you're thinking. It's just a classic over-the-middle slant. It's that same thing as the RPOs. However, they're going to show us a replay right here, so I don't need to go to the All-22. Thank you for the convenience. No, that's not the one. The next replay will have a better view. You can see how he has to thread the ball over the linebacker because the throwing lane is dirty. It's perfect. It's well placed. It's downfield right here. They even circled it. See, the broadcast knows. Really, really good ball placement and trajectory. Solid play. Here, a little plus movement. Little routine throw off the hands of George Kittle. Kittle's not had the best game. Again, some plus movement, throw the screen, routine, but I think what we're recognizing is that what Purdy does well, not even necessarily well, but what he does that makes this offense function is he just gets the ball out to that first read the way he's told to, well under pressure. And his skill players do the rest. Not to be outdone, Jarrett Stidham leads another baller touchdown drive. And here Brock Purdy tries to throw the game away. Like that is 2 points right through the fucking basket. Swish. That's a pickable ball. Here, this is routine. A little RPO, slant up the middle, the Kyle Shanahan staple. The way he QB proofs his plays. That's a good throw. It's nice and downfield. This is solid. Clean enough pocket, but he threads it in there. That's tight trail coverage. You cannot miss on that throw. You have to be on time. You have to lead your receiver or else it's going the other way. That's a bad throw. Just led him too much. Just missed. Things happen. That's a routine throw. Good job. I feel kind of bad because there's just not a lot of analysis to be done in 49ers games. They're so often so simple. Now, if you watch my Jarrett Stidham video, you know that he had three almost picked ball. He had one almost picked ball and two picked balls, and I didn't think any were his fault. Here, great plus movement by Purdy to get away from this free rusher, and a plus movement for throwing the ball while being hit. The fact that this gets complete is nothing short of a miracle. Jarrett Stidham did very similar things twice in the same exact game, and neither of them ended up being caught by his team. It's a bad ball. We're going to grade it as such. Great job by Ayuk to go up and get that ball. Terrible job by Nate Hobbs, who had just a brain fart of a game, not attacking the ball when he sees it's fluttering. He just kind of stopped and waited for it like a pop-up. You can't do that. You got to go up and get it. But there is some justice in this world because Robbie Gould misses the kick anyway, and we're off to overtime where Brock Purdy will not make a throw. That's all she had, folks. Let's get to the chart. All right, so very similar to in the Jarrett Stidham video, we've got one game of evidence, so I can't give you a composite showing all of his games from this year. I'm not going to go back to preseason. I think that's silly. I'm just going to show you how this game compares to league averages and rates. So I gave him a D. He had the two interceptable balls, both of which could have cost them the game. And frankly, they probably should have lost this game anyway. So he had no elite throws and he had no great throws. He did have 5 solid throws, and that's about 13.5% of his dropbacks, which is good for almost exactly the league average rate. On average, an NFL starting quarterback will throw a solid pass on 14.1% of their dropbacks. He hit 13.5. That's a rounding error, especially on such a short sample. What I think is really telling is that, so I have a stat called cheap play percentage. A cheap play is anything I grade as pedestrian or a neutral run. Or so like it's the easy ones. It's screens, it's check downs, only if he completes them, right? If he fucks up, it's a negative play. So a cheap play is anything that's not negative or positive, basically. It's just easy. On average, an NFL starting quarterback has a cheap play rate of 46.2%. So on a little under half of the plays, they're just kind of like facilitating the offense. Brock Purdy ran a successful cheap play on 62.9% of his dropbacks. That's crazy. I can't think of a quarterback that has a rate even close. Justin Herbert, who has a notoriously conservative offense that, football fans everywhere hate Joe Lombardi because he just refuses to run anything but the cheapest of plays. He's at 50%. Like Joe Burrow, who checks the ball down about as much as anybody, is at 51%. Hell, even Tua, who's in an extremely highly schemed offense, is at 43.8%. Now, a lot of that's because he's inaccurate, but you get my point. Brock Purdy's completion percentage is being buoyed by these easy plays more than anybody, by a lot. That said, Brock Purdy is doing what you want from a game manager, because that's what he's doing. He's managing the game. He's just facilitating extremely easy offense. When you're running an offense that relies on a game manager, you're saying we'll trade in having fewer positive plays if we make sure that we have fewer negative plays. Right? That's what Kyle Shanahan is always trying to do with Jimmy G and Nick Mullins and now Brock Purdy. Just avoid the disaster plays. And to Brock Purdy's credit, he was capable of doing this. In this game, he had a negative play on only 21.6% of his passes, or dropbacks rather. The league average is about 29%. Now, for reference, I've graded 5 of Jimmy Garoppolo's games from this year, and his negative play rate was 35.6. So Purdy is really cutting down on the negative plays. That being said, Purdy's only getting 13.5% positive plays, and even Jimmy Garoppolo had a slightly better 16.1% positive plays. Now keep in mind again, the average positive play rate is 24.3%. Overall, he was pressured slightly less often, or at least he reacted to pressure slightly less often than the average quarterback does in a game. The average NFL quarterback has a plus pocket movement on about 26% of their dropbacks, right? And Brock Purdy had a plus pocket movement on about 21.6% of his dropbacks. So It's not that he's sitting back there having a picnic, but he's also not exactly handling pressure with a veteran savvy unknown to man for a rookie. He had the 2 pickable balls, which is good for about 5.4% of his dropbacks. It's almost twice the league average rate of 3.8% of his dropbacks. Like I mentioned earlier, basically what this comes down to is comparing Brock Purdy to Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo, you'll see here, it's not like he performed well at all. Like I mentioned earlier, Jimmy Garoppolo failed to protect the ball despite similarly failing to produce positive plays. So while Brock Purdy might not be any good, this performance was absolutely mediocre. You could find this out of a lot of backup quarterbacks. At the very least, he was significantly more accurate than Jimmy Garoppolo, and he protected the ball better than Jimmy Garoppolo, sort of. He did throw 2 interceptable balls, which is like not protecting the ball whatsoever, but he avoided negative plays, which keeps them ahead of the chains. And when you've got a team so stacked full of playmakers who are especially good after the catch, all you really want is to stay ahead of the chains. As for traits, I think it's pretty clear. Brock Purdy doesn't have an especially quick release, and it's largely because he's got a pretty weak arm. I see a lot of similarities to a Mac Jones. He's just asked to do so much less. I think that in this offense, Mac Jones would do just as well. I think that in this offense, a lot of quarterbacks would do just as well. Because Kyle Shanahan doesn't really trust Brock Purdy, he doesn't ask him to do a lot. It's mostly just hit this wide open man 3 yards downfield and pray. I'm sure that the average depth of target for Brock Purdy on the season, if this game is any indication, is extremely low. Now, there were a few times when we saw Brock Purdy actually have a chance to progress through his reads, and when I say a few, I'm not exaggerating. I showed you most of them. And he did all right. But I wasn't blown out of my seat. And I think that there's a reason that, for the most part, Kyle Shanahan is calling plays that are checkdowns to the running back as a first read, the long screens effectively. So, on one hand, 49ers, I have bad news for you, and that's that Brock Purdy is not some franchise savior, Dak Prescott, starting quarterback out of nowhere. On the other hand, I have good news for you because I think he's probably better than Jimmy Garoppolo, and that makes him probably the best quarterback on the roster. And I say that probably, but I'm pretty fucking sure he's the best quarterback on the roster, and I think that he maximizes your chance of winning a championship this year. Now, I think you should try to replace him next year. I'd rather have a guy like Derek Carr, ironically. I'd rather have a Baker Mayfield. Hell, I'd rather have a Marcus Mariota. But I do think that for now, especially considering that this roster is going to get expensive real soon, I certainly wouldn't mind having Brock Purdy as a part of it. What do you guys think? Critique any plays? Think I messed up anywhere? Want to see something else? Let me know. But until next time, I'll be grinding film.